Hey there, Pony, how's it going? It's me, Rare Quality, and today I will be reading the fanfiction known as Meet the Ponies by AwesomeSauce4 on fanfiction.net. And here's the description. Here's a touching story. After an experiment gone wrong, Twilight, Pinkie, and Rainbow find themselves in Teufort. Meanwhile, the Pyro goes the other way and lands in Equestria. Sounds exciting, right? Let's see. Author's notes. In this story, the Pyro is male. I know there is a debate as such, but I choose male. The author has good tastes. Chapter 1. The Lonely Pyro. Pyro reclined in his office chair, staring at all his expensive stuff, and thinking about the money he had. Then he snapped back out of his daydream. He was sitting in the intelligence office at Teufort, staring at the walls which he would soon be running through. His trusty flamethrower at his side. He had no money to speak of, living off welfare checks from Team Fortress 2 Industries. And, as usual, he had arrived very early to the battlefield. In fact, he had arrived last night by express truck. Then he had set up his small bed and slept fitfully through the night, dreaming his usual dreams. The time he set the orphanage on fire. The time he set his birthday cake on fire. The time he set his neighbors on fire. Pyro kind of wished he didn't dream about the bad parts of his life. Then again, there weren't many good parts. He set about polishing his flamethrower and mask, whistling a small tune he remembered. Today was a good day. Meet the Pyro was soon to be released. Hopefully it would show how cool and nice he was, right? In fact, he thought he had heard that Medic had previewed it. Pyro found the desk phone, which was on the desk. In fact, it was nailed on the desk. Pyro picked up the receiver and dialed the medic's number. The medic was also one of the few who could understand him through his mask, though why this was completely unknown to the Pyro. Hello? I am in the middle of something, the medic answered. Hi, medic! How was Meet the Pyro? Pyro asked. Pyro? Oh dear, maybe it is best I save the surprise for later. Finished Mac, immediately hanging up. Pyro was confused, but thought to himself, I must look really spectacular in the trailer if he can't tell me anything about it. Pyro often acted childlike, preferring candy and treats to normal food, unless it was hamburgers. He loved hamburgers. In fact, he had once sold the rights to his name and face to a restaurant called Pyro's Hamburgers, only to find that TF2 Industries had bought the restaurant. Oh well. He wondered what would have happened if the restaurant was successful. Thinking of the service he had there, he frowned. Probably a zombie apocalypse or something. He quickly abandoned his unhappy tangent of thought and went back to polishing. In a completely different universe. Twilight Sparkle lifted up a wrench with her horn as she surveyed her work. It was the shape of a simple door, oval-shaped and large, but made of metal. Behind it was a vast machine with plenty of technological arrays, gears, and pumps. Today was the big day. She would finally see if her work paid off. Spike was fast asleep, and Spike was fast asleep, and it was the weekend, so the library was closed for the day. She'd also invited Pinkie and Rainbow Dash over to see her big experiment. Rainbow was bored that day, and Pinkie was always open for something fun. Speaking of which, where were they? She heard a knock from the door, and zipped down to answer it. Pinkie appeared in the doorway, giggling at some unknown joke. Hi, Twi! Where's the dimensional space hole thingy? Is it that? Pinkie stared at a book. That's a book, Pinkie, Twilight said. Just then, they heard an incoming! And Rainbow crashed into the doorway, knocking both of them over. Rainbow? Twilight said, surveying the damage. Sorry, Twilight. Might have overshot the landing. Rainbow replied apologetically. Fortunately, nothing was broken, so they continued over to the next room in the library, which housed Twilight's workshop and the door. Wow! You built a door, Twilight? Pinkie said, evidently impressed. Rainbow smirked. You brought us over here for a metal door, Twi? Next time, I think I'll sleep in. Twilight groaned. The door can access other universes. The universes we go to might be made of candy, or on fire, or invisible. Pinkie Pie thought about this for a moment. Pinkie thought for a moment about the last one. But if we're invisible, how would we know we were there? Rainbow rolled her eyes. You wouldn't be able to see anything, duh, she answered. Twilight flickered a switch, and the door lit up yellow, as the pump started pumping magic into the device. Let's see. Coordinates 12, 23, infinity, she said. Ooh! Ooh! Where are we going? Pinkie asked. A universe just like ours. Except Luna is the current monarch. It would be a real educational opportunity. Rainbow rolled her eyes. Boring, egghead. Let's go a universe much more cool. To Twilight's horror, she began messing with the coordinate controls, setting them to 16, 4, 1960, and so on. And then jumped through. Catch me if you can! Rainbow yelled as she jumped. Ooh, looks like fun! Pinkie said as she bounced in. Twilight hurriedly scribbled a note and mustered up her courage, following them into the dimensional void. Back in the TF2 universe. Gentlemen, I have called you here today to present the final installment of our Meet the Team videos, featuring our beloved arsonist, the Pyro. As part of the effort to convince the poor unfortunates of Teufort that you are not idiotic mercenaries destroying the buildings and worldly possessions with bombs, this has been a tremendous failure, and I blame all of you for not trying hard enough, the administrator said smugly, from her television screen. I just skipped the bloody movie. Sorry, the demoman said, slurping a little more of his scrumpy and burping. Very well, the administrator said, then cut to the video. The Pyro watched, rapt, as footage of his teammates played. I fear no man, the Heavy said, but that thing scares me. It was then that Pyro began to know something was very wrong. Weren't they supposed to make him look cool and likable to the other team members? No, I ain't talking to that freak, Scout exclaimed. The real Scout was cringing, almost as if he expected Pyro to attack. He's not here, is she? The Scout in the video questioned, becoming increasingly panicked. The Pyro was almost indigent at this. Scout thought he was a girl? How do I get this fucking thing off? The Scout was literally tugging at his microphone, frantically attempting to remove it from his chest. Pyro kicked open a door, flamethrower out and ready. The Pyro gulped. He remembered that day. The video then cut to the spy, and the Pyro brightened. Surely Spy's orality skills. He would say something good about him, right? One shudders to imagine what inhuman thoughts lie behind that mask. The spy mused, smoking his traditional cigarette. Pyro was now shooting a stream of fire into the air, with buildings burning, while buildings burned around him and dramatic music played. The Pyro practically withered in his seat. Or not. He thought to himself, what dreams of chronic and sustained cruelty. The camera then cut to an animated sequence zooming into the Pyro's mask, presumably into his thoughts. Then it cut to a pastel world viewed through 2 eye holes, where the Pyro was holding a contraption of brass and balloons, and wherever he placed the rainbow, flowers sprung up. His favorite song, Do You Believe in Magic, was playing. Inside his mask, the Pyro paled. They told him that they wouldn't mention his medication. They said no one need never know. They lied. Pyro couldn't bear watching the rest of the video, but he knew he looked away. It was a sign of weakness. So he started as he skipped. So he stared as he skipped happily, giant lollipop in hand. How did they even know about that? And inserted it into a cherubic version of the Blue Heavy's mouth. It cut back to reality, and the Pyro was chopping the Blue Heavy apart with his axe. He sprayed a stream of bubbles at baby Blue Scout. As in real life, he shot him with a scorch shot. He saw the Meg inside a present, so he straightened the present's top, while in real life, he barred the door to a building. The mech trapped inside, shouting, "No!" as the pyro set the building alight. The baby spy and engineer appeared, and Balloonicorn gave them a ride on his back. How did they know about his imaginary friend, too? Pyro wondered worriedly. The cherubs were all there, the whole team, and they were saluting him as he left Pyroland, as he had come to call it. The scene cut to reality, and the whole blue team was running around and screaming as everything around them was lit on fire. The blue sniper crashed out of a second-story window to the ground and grabbed the shoe of someone, screaming, "Help!" at them. Pyro remembered this also, but not in this light. No, he remembered the Pyroland version, where the poor sniper wanted to be rainbow-colored, but just couldn't do it himself somehow. The movie cut to a scene of the pyro tilting his head as he burned the sniper to death, and then to the end credits. Pyro relaxed inside his suit. Finally, it was over. The ending scene then cut again to the scene of Pyro walking towards the sunset in Pyroland. The transition of reality as the blue soldier fell over, clutching his heart that had fallen out while the buildings burned around him. And Pyro in the movie whistled softly to "Do You Believe in Magic?" The entire team was speechless. "Meeting adjourned," the announcer said. Turning off the television, everyone but Pyro immediately made muttering excuses and left the room, leaving only Pyro and Medic. I am sorry, Pyro, but I promised them not to tell you," Medic said as he too left. The Pyro stared at the television screen. How could they have said those things about him? How could the makers of the video show his special place, where he could play forever and not have to worry about how he had no money, no job, no anything? The Pyro put his masked head in his gloved hands. What would he do now? Back up at the respawn room, a conversation was taking place. "Oh man, we're dead. We are so freaking dead!" The scout panicked, practically flying across the room as he got his stuff together. "If we're lucky, we'll live for about a week," the spy muttered, loading his revolver and sharpening his knife. "I had no part in that video," the engineer muttered. "And if y'all didn't want him to come after you, maybe you shouldn't have said all that in the first place. You know she was gonna come after you eventually." The mech groaned. "For the last time, the Pyro is male." The scout looked at him. "Yeah, like you would know." Then the scout thought about what he had just said. Part of Mech's job was to take them apart and put gizmos in them, like the Ubercharge device. So he probably did know. "Never mind," he said begrudgingly. "Speaking of which, where is our beloved friend?" "He's late," the spy commented. "Maybe he's resting. We are lucky men if so," the heavy answered, cleaning his minigun. Okay, that was chapter 1. Lots of mistakes. I apologize for the inconvenience and mutters I made. Yeah, so I'll be back with part 2 soon. See ya.